Hey guys, this is my third attempt at recording this video for you. The first one I started one way, messed it up, stopped. Then I tried to record it a second way, got annoyed because it was too annoying, and then stopped. So we're going to go back to the first way and try not to screw up this time. So the idea is to solve this equation right here. Okay, so it's quadratic, you're solving for x. And that's what makes it quadratic, because the x is squared. So the problem you've already probably tried is to like factor an x out. So then you have x times 2x plus 4h. So the problem then is you've got x in two places, which is exactly what you have now, which is not what you want to have. So what we're going to do here is we're going to solve this via a different method. The second way I tried to do it was with the quadratic formula, and it was working just fine, right up until the point it didn't. It got ugly, really nasty variables. So we're going to use a less often used method called completing the square, which looks worse at first until you realize that it actually does everything that you're doing in the quadratic formula without having to plug things into the quadratic formula. So first thing you want to do, you're already in the right shape for it. You're already in the form you want completing the square to be in, because in completing the square, you want all the variables you're solving for to be on one side and the constants over here. So you're already kind of ready to go for that. So that's nice. The only thing you want to have to do is you want to make sure the coefficient on this one is 1 before you start. So I'm going to divide the whole thing by 2 to get a over 2 equals x squared plus 2. And what I try to do here, I'm going to do 2h times x, just so you get the coefficient. H and a, although they're variables, they're constants in this aspect because you're solving for x, which means everything else is acting as a constant. So there you go. So now you've got the x squared term here, 1x squared. You got this 2h times x, and you got a over 2. Here's the reason students hate completing the square, is this next step. So what you do, you're going to add a number to both sides, and that number is going to be a variable quantity. You're about to see why. So what you're going to do here, you got 2h. You're going to take that number, and the first thing you do is you take it and cut it in half. 2h divided by 2, and you get h. Okay, get h. The next thing you do is you take that number and you square it. You raise it to the second power. So then you get h squared. That number is the number you add to both sides. Now in your classes, chances are you probably didn't have numbers here. You had, you didn't have variables here. You had numbers there. And when you have numbers there, it's much easier because, like, if this number was 8, you would just do 8 divided by 2 is 4, 4 squared is 16, and then you'd add 16 to both sides. And generally speaking, that was already a number. It gets a little bit goofy because it's variable, but don't worry about it. Just add it. So now you're going to add h squared to both sides. So this side you have a over 2 plus h squared. On this side you have x squared plus 2hx plus h squared. And you might be thinking to yourself, why in God's name would I do that? That's stupid. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I add that variable quantity to both sides? It looks worse than it did before now, except for the fact that this side is still a over 2 plus h squared. This side, watch this, this is so cool. You completed the square so you can now factor it. This side, if you reverse engineer this thing, is x plus h, the quantity squared. I encourage you not to believe me. Check it out. X plus h times x plus h. Let's do it over here as a little side exercise. X plus h, x plus h. You know, don't believe me. Don't believe me. Check it out. This is so cool. Foil this. X times x is x squared. H times x is hx. X times h is xh. H times h is h squared. That's 2 xh's, right? Or 2 hx's, whatever you want to call it. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. So we're almost done. We're almost done. You've got x plus h, the quantity squared, equals this. Now, the reason it's exciting is because there's only one x now. And that's what you wanted. This whole thing was messy because there were 2 x's, 2 x's, 2 x's. 1x. So now you take the square root of both sides. Don't forget your plus or minus. I'm not sure how picky your prof is going to be about that. It's a geometry problem, so there probably won't be negative lengths, but just in case they don't work out to be negative, leave it in there. Plus h squared equals x plus h, and you're almost done. subtract h to the other side, and you end up with the opposite of h plus or minus a root of a over 2 plus h squared. And that, my friends, is what x is equal to. You can't really do anything more with that. That's actually the most simple form you could possibly have. Completing the square is, back when I was teaching algebra, it was my favorite way of solving quadratics. I haven't taught algebra in years and years and years, which is why I screwed it up the first time. But it really is a really slick, direct way of getting any quadratic solved. And believe it or not, if you've ever seen the derivation of the quadratic formula, it uses completing the square to get the quadratic formula. So it's kind of cool there too. Anyway, that's a quick little... This is the part that drives students crazy. When they get to that part, they think that there has some magic has to happen, but it really is not magic at all. It's just you're completing this polynomial so that you can then write it as a square. So, hope that helped. Talk to you guys soon.